And now to speak about Paul's work, I've seen his work online. I've met Paul at previous engagements, and in seeing it now in person, I've come to find that there's, for me, a certain measure of urban archaeology going on here, and it's not so much in unearthing something, but perhaps finding or presenting to the viewer things that are particularly part of our everyday lives. These manhole covers are simply wonderful, and they're seemingly the wallpaper that we walk past, or floor paper, I should say, that we walk past day to day without even taking a glance at, or the last time I had an encounter with the manhole covers because I tripped over it, I look back to say, hey, what was that? But here they are presented in a way which is extremely unique, and it documents a side of New York that we are all familiar with, yet might not have stopped to comprehend or to take notice of. It's great work, and as I found, Paul is his career as an artist is stemmed from his mother, who has pushed him in a direction which has put the tools in his toolbox, and since then he's essentially paved out for himself or cut a path for himself as an artist, focusing on photography, narrative storytelling, which manifested itself in filmmaking, and simply as a writer himself too. Here I present to you, Paul, and take the show.
Thank you very much. I also want to reiterate about Diane and her setting up this space to open up and welcome people to understand and feel art, and it's very important. I'm just so blessed to have this opportunity. But so one morning, how I do my work is I get up and I go out and I paint. And so one morning I'm out working on this particular one. This is on the corner of Bond and Broadway, and this is Bond Street, which is an old street. It's all cobblestone. That's the crosswalk where Broadway starts, and that's the asphalt of Broadway. So I'm working out there, and a guy comes over, and he's like, I see what you've been doing, this, that, and the other. He's like, I'm from France. I'd love to do a little documentary on you. And I'm like, okay, sure. So here we are, a couple months later. He's following me around, this, that, and the other. I'm getting uncomfortable. I told my wife, I don't even want to do this. And she's like, just do it, Paul, just do it. I said, okay, fine. So I ended up doing it, and I'll show you that, and then I'll talk a little bit more about my other work.
I wake up in the morning, I sit on the edge of my bed, and I sometimes wonder if I'm going to be able to walk to the bathroom by myself. A couple years ago, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor the size of a golf ball, and if they didn't remove it within a day, I wouldn't be here. Brain cancer made me lose my balance, and it took me almost 2 years to relearn a lot of the simple things that I often took for granted. So now when I walk to the bathroom, I feel like everything after that is just bonus. My name is Paul, and I create paintings of manhole covers all around New York. I was about 10 years old when my mom taught me how to stretch a canvas, and ever since then, I never stopped creating. It took me years to figure out what exactly I wanted to paint, Then I realized that I was walking over it all the time. There's around 600,000 manhole covers in New York City, and some have been here for more than a century. So when I start tracing the lines on my canvas, I know that what lies beneath it is a part of history. People walk over manhole covers all the time and don't notice their beauty. That's why I like talking to people. I like telling them what I see and how amazing I think they are. New York has been a great place for me to paint, and now that I have all my strength and my life ahead of me, I think I could take my art to a new level.
Yeah, so he was interested in what I was doing, and that one of the reasons I really love what I do is because it's outside, it's very tactile, where I can touch things, I can feel things, and I get to speak to people. I get to meet people. People share stories to me, I share with them. And I like that feel, you know, and I like that. I think the bigger picture for me a lot of times is when someone says, you know, wow, I never looked at it this way. Wow, you look at it different. That's big for me because I feel like if I exercise another's ability to look at something different, then I've done my job as an artist. I feel like that's what I'm kind of here for, to show people, oh, okay, this is the way it is. So, or this is the way it could be, you know. And so that's basically the process. Now, what I'm displaying today is a mix of 3 different styles of painting that I do. You'll see one side is let's start with the black and white style. This black and white style is pretty much like people ask, is it a rubbing or not? This one is really just pretty much that. It's black wax and black paint on canvas. And a lot of my work depends on temperature because I can work in this medium when it's colder out. But I can't do this when it's warmer out because the wax would melt. So then as I go, and then I could dye the canvas black, and I use a different kind of wax that I make myself or I mix myself for the white one. And then this one, this is where I really feel like I'm just really pushing it for my own creativity. This I can work from like May to October, where it's like warmer medium. I can work in paint and things like that. So I do it in that way. So then how these sculptures kind of came about were the fact that I wanted to kind of document those 3 different phases of it, and also a learning process. By working on this one, I learn about that particular manhole cover. By the time I get to the color one, I really have a good understanding of where lines are, what I can work with. And my mind will be going in those colder months of like, okay, when I get to paint this, what color am I going to be using to get to that point? And then the other thing was, when sometimes I sell my work on the street. And sometimes it could be so, like, people get so competitive out there. And it's just like, to me, I feel like that's just not, art is something that shouldn't be in that competitive structure system. But sometimes it gets like that. When I'm out there, I'm like that. And then I just said to myself, you know, I can get beyond any of this competitiveness, which I don't try to get involved in, if my work is unique. The more unique I am, I don't have to deal with that. And I work towards that. I work to a point where it's unique. It's, you know, going to the point where I'm pushing it. But then there's certain things, like, for example, like this structure of these things, they got to be really solid. That's another thing. It's like when it's outside, that the wind comes and it's not going to mess this up. So then I tap back into when I was a carpenter, and I said 3 elements were function, design, and stability. Make it stable, right? Does it function? Like if someone has a painting in their home, would it feel like, okay, this is the color I wanted from my place, it feels good, this, that, and the other. And then the design side. I think the design side's the thing that the artist really has a hold on. The function and the stability, I think you can put someone else's hands, but when it comes to the design side, you really get a hold of it. And that's, you know, pretty much what I try to do. And then you'll see as you go, by the time I get to the color one, I'm changing things up. Like it says Con Medicine, I'll just use part of it and make it say sun. Or I'll change words like this over here. It said WSNY, made in India. So I'll change it to something. Or this one over here, it says City of New York. The original you'll see over here, it says Parks and Recreation. And I'll just use creation, you know? Or sometimes I won't even use the letters. Like I'll feel like, okay, it doesn't have the letters. But sometimes another thing is like, I'll be out and I'll realize so much has to do with the straight sun and daylight down on it. Because if you look at this painting when it has a lot of sunlight, there's so many little golds that pop out in it, you know? So I have to kind of go off of that. And then with the black and white ones I enjoy because I really get to play with the essence of it without any color and just realize, okay, this has a shadow, this doesn't. How can I work within that? And that's, you know, pretty much what it is. I mean, it came from, like I said, a lot of different mediums that I kind of put together and I said, what did I like about this medium? Like, what did I like about filmmaking? I loved people and I loved the unity of it, you know? What did I like about photography? The independence of this, you know? What did I like about writing? The same independence, but the intimacy that you have with your written work, that you can kind of have a voice and have a literal voice and let it out, you know? So I try to like, luckily I found this and I've been doing it for like 15 years now and it just feels comfortable and that's, you know, what I do. So that's enough. But thank you.